All right, everybody, welcome. So do you speak German too? Yeah, you do. However, just for our internet visitors, we're going to do this in English. Otherwise, I would have done it in German, which is a lot easier because we're mainly dealing with German copyright law and the affiliations to other national copyright acts. Most of you here in the room might have already gotten to know me, sometimes personally. I work only as a side job anymore, as an attorney at law in intellectual property, and copyright is an issue that we deal with in the demo scene every day, which is why I thought this might be interesting to you. What I would like to do in the next 45 minutes, and maybe we will need a little bit more time, you can see right here. I will give an overview of what copyright is, and the one focus will be how it is dealt with in Germany, especially dealing with Germany's Copyright Act. I will give some an outlook on the Berne Convention. Then I will talk, if the time suffices, about some licensing models that you might have run into in the demo scene that might make sense for your productions. And then, last but not least, I will talk about copyright infringements, what to watch out for when you deal with copyright issues. And the questions are listed here at the end, but whenever you have a question, just raise your hand and we can deal with this right now. If it extends the focus to something else, I will ask you to wait until the 45 minutes are over and we can talk about it afterwards. Please take into consideration that I usually do this in German, and although my English is fluent, a lot of terms I might not be too terribly familiar with. It is just a difference. If you deal with this in a different language, it's just different. First, let's just have a close look at, a not too close look actually, it wasn't supposed to look like that, at what a copyright actually is. We're talking about this pretty much every day when we deal with creations. When we create, we want to know how to deal with it and what we have to do in order to protect our works. There is not much to know unless you go into greater detail. Since copyright is handled very differently in different nations, all I can tell you right now before going into detail is that copyright is an intellectual property right, and it protects authors' intellectual creations. It is not just ideas, it is creations that are protected. As I said, in different countries, it's handled totally differently, and the Berne Convention that we're going to come to grants a minimum level of protection to all the works that are created in member countries or by people who are citizens of member states. But first, let's have a look at Germany. Germany's Copyright Act in German is called the Urheberrecht. And the Urheberrecht is mainly handled, but not only, by the so-called Urheberrechtsgesetz. There are different laws too that don't matter too much right here and right now, but there are different laws too that have to be taken into consideration when you deal with certain types of productions and works. What the Urheberrechtsgesetz does, the German Copyright Act, is protecting intellectual creations, as I already said, that relate to literature, science, and art. And definitely in the demo scene you run into science and art every day, because you have the code, you have the technical side, and you have the creation. And at the Scene.org Awards tonight, you will see the awards for all these combinations. Especially mentioned in the law are computer programs, photographs, films, drawings, maps, layouts, tables, etc. It doesn't really matter what form a creation has, but that it is an intellectual creation of some sort. The Urheberrechtsgesetz, the German Copyright Act, grants authors certain rights. This is going to take a little longer, but I want you to read this first. First of all, you have the moral rights, meaning The fact that you are the author alone grants you rights to decide whether and when to publish it, that you want your authorship recognized so that people cannot claim it is their work, obviously, and you can prohibit distortions of your work. Meaning that if somebody takes it and even legally uses it and distorts it in a way that your reputation is damaged, you can claim for him to cease doing so. The more commercial rights you see here, the exploitation rights, it's not only enough to know that you are the author and that you're cool and everything. You would like them to know. You would like to make sure that you profit from your creation, and that's not usually the case with demos. But as soon as you start making games or professional websites, as soon as you start using your talents in professional and commercial projects, you obviously want to be able to decide who reproduces it, how it's distributed, when and where it's exhibited. This is also why we at scene.org usually have a problem when the media approach us and say, can we have a capture video of this and that demo? Can we publish it? And we go, we're sorry, we cannot grant you this right because it's not our right. It's the author's right. And I will come to how we can deal with this smoothly and efficiently later. Then, obviously, how your work is recited, how it's performed on stage, maybe, how it's presented, when and where it's broadcast, and obviously, when it comes to video and audio recording, you also want to have the right to decide whether and when and how it is done. Now, for demo sceners, it's always important to know what right do I have to use it freely. Now, if there is independent work, and there is just defining what exactly that is would take too much time now, but as soon as it is independent work, and as if it was created by free use, and you're free to use it yourself, it can obviously be published and exploited freely. But for the musicians among us, any musicians here? So let's skip that point. You can also get this presentation later, so if it's not really important for either of you now, I will just have this presentation on the net, and you can download it. But you can see as soon as a melody is recognizably borrowed, even if the work was created by free use, you're not allowed to use it. Obviously, you have the royalty right for the resale. Obviously, you have a claim for remuneration when your work is rented out or lent. Is it lending, lent? Not sure. And obviously, it is your right to grant exploitation rights. And this is usually where the commercial aspect comes into play. When you create something and you want to sell it, this is where it becomes interesting. Because usually, if you don't do anything, it's your right alone to exploit it, to copy it, to sell it, to lend it, to do whatever you want. And obviously, this is where some people pay money for. When they approach you and say, you have this creation, can I use it for my... let's say, like the German company Medion came up to a demo scene group and said, we have this new desktop PC and we like your demo and we have a new graphics card in it. Can we include your demo in our new series of PCs so that users can see how cool the graphics card is and everything? Obviously, they can do it as long as they're granted the right to do it. And we have at CeBIT, from Digitale Kultur e.V., we have run into a company that used demos without having the permission from the authors. That was interesting. And there is another right that is interesting. If you grant somebody the right to exploit your work, including the re-granting, meaning the resale, and this resale is grossly disproportionate, meaning the money that he makes out of it is grossly disproportionate to the value of your creation. Still, although you already granted the right, it is your right to participate in these negotiations, meaning You can participate in it and say, this is more valuable than you claim it is than for what you're selling it. Just a little side, right? Now let's move a little bit further to what exactly the Urheberrecht, the copyright is. Now, you also get a copyright for adaptations, meaning we all know that everything we do is always influenced by something that has been done before. Sorry, I did not turn this off. So we're never free of influence, meaning whatever we do has been there in some form or another before. So even if you adapt a work and not do it from scratch, as long as one can say that it's still your creation, the adaptation itself is your creation, you also have the rights that usually are called copyrights. The second point just deals with the fact that there are multitudes of people and sometimes multitudes of creations. If several people work together at, let's say, a website or a demo, they're co-authors. And then they all have the copyright, the right to exploit the work, meaning neither of them can do it on their own. They all have to do it together just the way they created it together. Now, let's just do a little distinction that the German copyright comes with. I already said it. There are two parts of copyrights. There is the authorship, and then there is the right to exploit. I call it the right to utilize. The authorship is not transferable. It is yours. If you created it, you created it. Even if you're a ghostwriter and you sell your work, including the right to mention the authorship, you're still the author. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. A ghostwriter would not make money if he fought against this afterwards. But authorship is not transferable. The rights to exploit the work are. One general thing that I'd like you to know is this. Copyright does not need to be filed, meaning if you want to have a patent or a trademark, then you need to file it. There are certain administrative places that deal with this. You need to apply for it, and it needs to be filed. Copyright doesn't. As soon as you create something, you are the author, and the right exists. It just does by creation. And it is also kept like that in pretty much every country in the world. There is no, and I will come to this, there is no system that I know of that requires filing of the right. Urheberrecht, the rights to exploit and the authorship, it ends 70 years, at least in Germany, after the author's death. You can inherit it if you're the heir of an author. You automatically, by the time of death, just through death, you inherit the rights. But, Erben. So it is transferable through inheritance, but it ends 70 years after the author's death, which is the reason for a lot of online resources for free online music. A lot of classical works have expired. I mean, the copyright has expired, which is why it's free, and which is why you're free to use them in general. Then it only lasts 70 years after the author's death. It doesn't repeat itself over and over. I mean, there is a limit to where influence and copying mingle. At some point, it's just so long ago that you cannot speak of copying anymore. If it's so important that you still remember it, let's say 100 years after creation, then it has influenced so many people anyway, so it doesn't really make sense. One little detail that I'd like you to know, because some of you might be working as programmers in a company and might be employees. If you work in a company and write computer software for your employer, And unless you have a specific part in your employment contract, everything you create belongs to the employer. I mean, you're still author, but the rights to exploit belong to your employer. This is obviously important because he has to make money with the software. I mean, he pays you to create the software. It would be weird if he had to pay you in order to use the software too. Obviously, you can keep it differently. If you're a freelancer, it might look different. But watch out for this if it is important to you. If you develop, let's say, high-value packing algorithms or something that you know exactly will sell well, watch out. Have a look at your employment contract. For the musicians that are not here, I would probably skip this part, but the GEMA, just so you know, is one office of the BIEM. I tried. It's the Bureau International des Sociétés Gérant les Droits d'Enregistrement et Reproduction Mécanique, the international organization representing mechanical rights societies. The GEMA and the BIEM both deal with, well, basically music rights. If you're a musician, you have the choice whether you want to be member of the GEMA, at least in Germany, or not. If you don't, there is no problem at all. You have all your rights. As I said, if you create music, it's yours. If somebody copies it, he's fucked. If you get an attorney and have the money to sue him. But the GEMA has a special system that you might profit from and that you might suffer from too. If you become a member, you assign all your copyrights relating to your music, your professional music, to the GEMA, which means, does anyone not know what assignment is in German? Abtretung. You assign your rights to the GEMA, which means all the rights to exploit your work. That sounds bad, but it is not as bad as you think it is, because the GEMA has a distribution system. Yeah. No.
My question was if it's possible to assign just a part of my own work to the GEMA, or I have to assign all my full work of my life to the GEMA.
Obviously, it doesn't go back from your time of entry. But as soon as you start, everything you create music-wise then is automatically assigned. Otherwise, the administrative work would be too high. Because what they do is they have invented this distribution system, meaning whenever you organize an event and I think it was more than €5, if you ask for more than €5 of entry fee, then you play GEMA-related works. One piece of music is enough. As soon as you do, you pay. There are certain fee systems, but as soon as you do, you pay. And the money that you pay to the GEMA, after subtraction of all the administrative costs, which I believe are a lot higher than they should be, goes to the authors, to the musicians. They have certain key schemes according to which these fees that you pay to the GEMA are distributed to the artists. Meaning, the more popular an artist is, the more music he sells, the more he gets out of it. It's the same with authors of books. They have a very similar system to it. But what I'd just like you to know is that there is a system, and it is very complicated if you have a look at it closely. It's just one way of assigning your rights, not having anything to do with the exploitation, because musicians usually go, I don't care, I don't want to know, I don't want to make up contracts, I make music. I have my manager, I sell my music, I don't want to deal with this crap. That's why the GEMA does it, and as good as the GEMA can be for you as a musician, it can also be a pain in the bum, just because you cannot really decide anymore. When you're a member, and then somebody else takes care of your rights. Now let's have a look at how it's done abroad. And the Berne Convention is, well, the full name is the Berne Convention for the Protection of Literature and Artistic Works. It is pretty much an Urheberrechtsgesetz just on an international basis. It deals, roughly said, with pretty much the same issues as the Urheberrechtsgesetz, the German Copyright Act. The original version goes back to 1886. It has been revised and completed several times, and Germany has been a member of it pretty much from the start. It has tons of members. It is a worldwide organization. It is very, very important. And roughly said, you can say your copyright work is protected pretty much worldwide in any country that sort of matters. I mean, there are very small countries that became members of this. And as soon as they do, you have your rights that are granted by the Berne Convention pretty much in the whole area of member states. As you can see there, the covered authors, the protected authors, are nationals of members of the member states or non-nationals who publish work in a member country. So you have two entry points. Either you are a member of that state or you publish in a member state. The no formalities rule I pointed out earlier, the Berne Convention also says that copyright has to originate just by creation, not by filing. Protection. The Berne Convention does not grant the rights by itself, but it points to domestic law of the member states. Almost all member states have domestic copyright acts. They vary in length, in certain details. Some lack important parts too, and then the Berne Convention just kicks in. But usually when there is a domestic law that deals with it, the Berne Convention just refers to that, and you have your copyright protection from there. The Berne Convention, however, in contrast to Germany, which had 70 years after the death of an author, only grants 50. And now I would like to read to you the Article 6b from the Berne Convention, because it very elegantly describes how authors' rights are usually handled. This is a basic thought that is pretty much to be found in all copyright acts. Independently of the author's economic rights, and even after the transfer of the said rights, the author shall have the right to claim authorship of the work and to object to any distortion, mutilation, or other modification of, or other derogatory action in relation to the said work, which would be prejudicial to his honor or reputation. It is a long sentence, but it says, you are the author, you did good, people should not make fun of your work or, well, distort it. Now let's deal with a couple of things that are important in the demo scene. Copyleft, as you see here now, is one of those things. In contrast to what's usually written on audio CDs, on DVDs, on pretty much any media you buy nowadays, what you read there is usually all rights reserved, which is the basic thought of their exploitation. You pay money for not being able or allowed to do, in principle, anything. You pay, and you're not allowed to do anything. Obviously, audio CDs you may play, and there are certain rights that you have, but the basic thought is that all rights remain with the authors or with the companies behind it. Copyleft is the exact opposite. Copyleft is not only a word pun, meaning the copyright is left to you, it is also the exact opposite approach. It means there are no rights reserved. The only thing, and as you can see in the GNU GPL, the only thing, and that is just one figure that it could have, is you're pretty much allowed to do anything with this work as long you allow the free modification the same way that you were allowed to. What they wanted to prevent is that they give out their copyrights or rights of exploitation to others and then experience that those people they claim a copyright and say, this is all mine, you may not do anything. The copyleft idea is pretty much I give out my works, and you may do whatever you want with it as long as you grant others the same right too. It's just a very basic summary of it. So it's instead of the all rights reserved, it's the no rights reserved approach. And now let's move on to something that you might find very interesting, that I find very interesting, and that I think that Scene.org should work a lot more with. The Creative Commons approach. The Creative Commons is a company that was founded in the US in 2001, and it has grown to an incredibly well-known, well-organized, and sophisticated organization. Instead of saying all rights are reserved, and instead of saying no rights are reserved, they have the some rights reserved approach, meaning that they give you a licensing system so that you can exploit certain rights as they seem fit. The CC system works with 4 attributes, basically. It is very easy. You'll see it. I'll go back one slide. You can see it. You can see it right here. You click here, license your work. And it's very convenient. It guides you through the process of finding your suitable license in pretty much any language you want. It's very elaborate and very sophisticated in German too. It lets you do pretty much anything you want. It gives you these 4 attributes, and they're pretty self-explanatory, but I'll just summarize what they mean. Attribution means, if you choose this attribute, it means I just want to be mentioned as the author. When I create a piece of music, and I choose this for the publication, it means people are, if they use my work, they're obliged to mention me as the author. No derivative works. God, oh, yeah, I mixed it up, damn. So obviously this is the non-commercial thing, meaning if I choose that, it means you may use my work however you want as long as you don't profit from it. That's a very demo-scene-ish approach. We create because we want to show our talents, our creativity. So the non-commercial attribute is very suitable for the demo scene. It means you can do pretty much anything you want as long as you don't make money with it. Then the no derivative works means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you do not change it, not alter it. You can, for example, play my music at a gig, at a wedding. You can play it at a fair, at an exhibition. I don't care, as long as you don't remix it. It's the same with demos. You could with demos it's different than with music. With music can just be sampled. Sometimes you can easily sample. In demos it's not all that easy. But theoretically you can also disassemble it and use parts of it. Or some demos do not come in a completely compiled way, and you have the textures and some things just coming along with it, just in plain files. So if you choose no derivative works, it means you can use it however you want as long as you don't change it. And the share alike is the copyleft thought, meaning you can do whatever you want as long as you share your work with the very same license that I did. You may use my work however you want as long as you don't change the license. So, in the demo scene, you will probably, most of the time, want to choose those 3. The attribution, you will want to be mentioned as the authors, you will not want people to make money from your work, and you will want people to share their alteration, their altered works, the same way you did. That way you can at least legally make sure that people do not fuck with your work, profit from it, and leave you without anything. Then you're mentioned as the author, people know that you did the original, and we keep it in the non-profit sector. Just one little thing, our sister association, the Chaos Computer Club, published an audio CD called Pimp My Rights, featuring, and that I found very interesting, Panic, Virgil, and Thievery Corporation and the Beastie Boys. I do not know how the last 2 got up there, because I'm sure They're a member of us GEMA-like office. I don't know how they did it, but they feature that, and it's freely downloadable. And Panic's track on there is elektronische Musik. So it was published here, but just to give you an example. And last, we'll talk about copyright infringements. You know this face, don't you? Yeah? And we have tons of time. I'm happy for that. So we have a lot of time for questions. And if some of you have not seen the Timbaland case, the video that was on YouTube for, I don't know, years, I'll show it to you in a second. Let's just have a look at what an infringement is. I wrote down it's a tightrope walk between influence and copy. As I said, everything we create has been there in one form or another before. We're all influenced. In music, it's just very clear, but it's the same in graphics, it's the same in every creative area. Nobody can come up to me and claim that he actually created something without being influenced at all. Everything we make bases on something. So it's always it's a question, and actually in lawsuits, it is a very important question. Is it really an infringement? Is it something? Is it what I did when I steal music, when I copy certain measures, when I copy beats, when I take a certain area of a painting, of a digital painting? If I take some parts of code, is that copying or is it just influence? Am I just influenced, or is it really copying? Am I creating my own work, which would also benefit from the authorship and the copyrights and the rights to exploit? Or is it still somebody else's work which I copied? And that is very, very difficult to deal with in court. I'm telling you, it's not fun to deal with this. Especially in the areas where people go to court. If it's just clear and somebody takes your shit and copies it, it's clear. But a lot of times it's not at all that easy. Now, what you have to face, or what people who infringe a copyright have to face, is written here. You have two sorts of claims. First of all, as the owner of your copyrights, of your rights to exploit, you have certain rights, meaning you have the right of seizure of use, Unterlassung. You can ask him to stop using your work, obviously, because you have the right to decide when it's published, when it's broadcast. When somebody infringes that, you obviously have the claim of seizure. Then you have the right of deletion, meaning if somebody copies, let's say, a logo and uses it on his stationery letterhead, you have the claim against him for deletion. So he has to get rid of all his material, his stationeries, business cards, everything, that his logo on the website, everything. And then secondary, and sort of this could also be mentioned here, the secondary claims just arise from the copyright infringement, meaning since the infringement has happened, the question is, what do we do? How do we deal with this? How do we make up for it? How does the infringing party make up for it? And obviously, in order to pay damages, and calculating that is very difficult too. In Germany, there are 3 models. If we have time and if it's interesting, I can go into that detail. Before you actually know how high the amount of damages is, you have to know what he did. What profit did he make from it? What damage is there to be compensated? So obviously, you have the right of disclosure. So you can go up to him and you have the right to ask him, where did you use it? What profit did you make with this? And then base your lawsuit for damages on this. And obviously, and I'll come to this in a second, it can have criminal law consequences if you infringe or if somebody infringes copyrights. And that means, just to be very short, because it's been a long discussion in Germany especially, it's what's the matter with private use copies? If I buy an audio CD, am I allowed to copy it for private use? The answer is yes, you are. Obviously, you're not allowed to just to upload it on eMule or somewhere. That is not allowed. But you may make your own private use copies for yourself. For friends, it's a different matter. Even that might be practically doable. But the copy for yourself is not a problem. It's granted by the Urheberrechtsgesetz, you can do that. However, what you should never do, because it is actually punishable by criminal law, is to avoid a copy protection. As soon as you see this sign on an audio CD, there is a copy protection. We all know you only have to have a certain software that just reads out the raw data and you can convert it and copy it. It's not a problem. But as soon as you do, it is a crime. The same, if you have any copy protection, if you go to any store and want to copy a movie DVD, almost all of them are encrypted with keys. I mean, in the demo scene, let's be honest, we all know what to do in order to avoid it. But it's a crime, don't do it. And you cannot see it here, but if you all have played Day of the Tentacle, these are the codes. I hope Lucasfilm doesn't sue me for those. And last but not least, the consequences for unlawful copies. The Urheberrechtsgesetz in section 106 states you can go to prison for up to 3 years. It is the absolute maximum. You can also have a fine. You can also be convicted to pay money. But this is the absolute maximum, and it also applies for the distribution of unlawful copies. Now, we are through with the content. But before I go to this, has anyone not seen the video about the Timbaland case? You said you hadn't. It was just a very interesting case that I would like to share with you, because there was a producer, well, it says pretty much anything, everything that I would like to tell you now. Last year, or in the past years, there was an album coming out by Nelly Furtado. There was a song in it that was called "Do It." Ah, here goes. A lot of people have seen this before, but I just want to make sure that you know. Speaking of copying, that this information does not seem to be up to date anymore. I've just been informed that apparently they came to a settlement, a friendly settlement. All of a sudden it became very quiet around him, and there has never been a lawsuit, but I think, and I interpret the silence that suddenly came up, that Timbaland approached him and paid him a compensation. That's what I think. But that is a very obvious example of copying. That is not your own work. It is taking somebody else's work and just having Nelly sing and putting beats on top of it. That's all. So now, if you want, oh, okay, Zach. we're through with the program. We still have 15 minutes for questions, if you have any. Other than that, now, are there any questions?
My question is, can you change your type of copyright after a while? Maybe you're programming a tool until version 3, and it's free, it's copyleft, and then you see it's selling like hell, and you want to get paid for it, and you make a copy version 4, and you said from this time on it's copyright to me, because it's the same problem you have done against your own decisions from before, but you're the author. Can you decide new, or have to release something totally different from this?
That is something that we deal with at Scene.org on a regular basis too. Are we talking Germany or are we talking international? Because sometimes, I mean, business goes across borders regularly, which makes it a lot more complicated. But well, the work that is out once is out, meaning that you decided for a copyright model, a licensing model, and if you give it out for free because you say that is, I'm a friend of the copyleft system, then obviously people have the right to exploit whatever there is existing. If you further develop something and you create something new, I mean, it's always a question of whether it's still the old work that was just adapted, that was, you know, just bug fixes, something, or if it includes a whole new part of software. It is always a very difficult way of evaluating whether it's still the old software or if it's new. For example, if you have a music software and it includes a whole new GUI, let's say a mixer, or you have a whole new standard of synthesizers, then I would say it's a new software, and then you are able to change it. But obviously, people can still use what existed before. Microphone.
The problem is, but you use your old stuff, and you have you agreed to your own before that you have to do this the next version in copyleft 2, because it's like. You're developing, for example, a word processing tool, and you say everyone can improve it and has to do this again to copyleft. Yeah. And now you do your own work to a similar tool, and you're doing not a totally different program, but you are against your own rules afterwards, because you use your old code with a lot more features, but you use your own code against your own copyleft.
That is also, yeah. I know the problem, and it is a matter of evaluating whether it's still influence or if it's copying. Practically what happens is people give the software a different name and sell it. And practically, it's always very difficult to prove that this work actually bases on something that you were not allowed to exploit in the way you did. But yes, you're right. If you want to change your own system of exploitation, it can be tricky. Because obviously, you're right. Legally, you would have, in order to be able to sell work with a completely different license, you would have to rewrite it from scratch. But let's face it, some parts are never rewritten. You don't rewrite very basic things. But if you want to, if you create a house and you want people to live in it for free, and you say you can do it for lifetime, I will never ask for rent, I will not ask for anything, and then you want to take the same house and rent it out, it's not possible. You would have to build your own second house. But obviously, you can profit from the experiences you had before. I'm sorry, I'm not able to give you a more detailed answer because it is a very tricky question. It deals with a lot of details, and it's always a matter of evaluation. Obviously, you would like to make sure before it gets serious and before it gets to court. But at the end of the day, when people want to go to court, they will, and you would have to convince the judge that you did not that you did not infringe your own copyright.
I want to say something what I think it was not correct. You said that if there's a sign on a CD that this CD is copyright protected,
Yeah.
then it's illegal to copy it, and this is not right.
Oh, of course, yeah, okay, that is true. You can...
There must be a real copy protection, and
Yeah. Okay, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, obviously, the criminal part comes into play when you breach a copyright protection. The fact alone that there is a sign on a CD is obviously not the only thing that causes the punishable act. Obviously, it's the breach of the copyright. What I wanted to tell you is, as soon as you see a sign like that, yeah, obviously the copyright protection itself is the cause, not the sign. That's true. But I mean, have you ever run into an audio CD that had the sign and was not copy protected?
yes, there are some copy protection systems that based on a special Windows feature. If you run the CD and you have the autoplay installed, then
Yeah.
it installs a software that prevents copying. And the laws says that this is not a real copy protection.
Obviously, you have to deal with the question whether it is a copy protection. If it isn't, then you cannot breach it. That is something. That is why copyright can be so tricky. If it is a copy protection, obviously you may not breach it. But it is possible that they come up with some idea that they think helps preventing copying, but is not legally a copy protection. That is true.
But of course, it's not that clear.
Well, I mean,
it's
in that, I just chose that sign because I know this copy protection system. I know that I mean, there are certain ways of reading out the raw data on an audio CD. And if you do that with those CDs, you see that there is a separate track that includes all the raw music data. And as soon as you copy those, you breach the copy protection. I'm not familiar with the copy protection that you mentioned, but it is well possible that there are copy protections that are not legally copy protections. They just install some sort of weird software that want to prevent you from doing something, but still enable you to do it just on one-on-one. I mean, just by inserting a CD, inserting a blank in another drive, and just copying without any protection. It could be. I'm not familiar with that system.
I have another question. I have a question to the Creative Commons.
Speak up, please.
To the Creative Commons stuff.
Yeah.
Do you assign any laws to any company or organization here as well as
No.
with the gamer?
No,
so
you don't.
It's basically a license generator.
That is true. It is a license generator, and what I presented to you, those 4 attributes, are just a very rough summary of what it's about. It is, as I said, it is very sophisticated. It's elaborate. They have lawyers working in all sorts of countries to make sure that the copyright is protected the way they want, or more precisely, the way you want. When you go to to the website and click on license your work, you're just a few steps away from creating a license that exactly fits your national copyright law. Germany is well protected. Just try it out. It's just a couple of clicks away. It's very convenient. It's very easy. I love Creative Commons. I wish the demo scene worked with Creative Commons a lot more. And you can also get a full text license with just all the details that you want to be dealt with. I mean, these 4 attributes are just a starting point to find out exactly what you want and to understand it. Because let's face it, we need to understand what we deal with. And copyright is something that even I don't understand completely. How do you ever estimate that just creators who just want to create and not deal with copyright shit know what they do? So these 4 are just what you come from, what you need to deal with. You just decide what you want and you can get your full copyright text. You can also take this text and alter it in any way you want. I mean, this is just an idea of how you can deal with it. But it's but especially in our Web 2.0 community days, it's all like very flashy internet kind of stuff. And we, although Web 2.0 is kind of even outdated today, it is just so outdated to deal with all rights reserved. You're right. You can, but I mean, there are very many countries covered. You can have your Japanese license created just the way you want. But since we're dealing with, since the main focus of if you create a blog is Germany, I would recommend that you use a German custom-made license. It doesn't mean you have no protection outside of Germany. It just means that the German copyright law is your main focus. Does that answer it?
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else that you have always wanted to know about copyright? We're very much on time. Yes, we're finishing. Then thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'll be here. I'd love to see you at the CNORC Awards tonight. And let's get drunk.